Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised that a lot of my coaching clients were like, "Can I join? Can I join?" And so I sent them the link, and so we'll see a couple of my team members of my team. I see Davin jumping on.
Awesome.
Great. Well,
Super excited.
What up, Jason?
What's up, Tyler? Oh man, alive, excited, and full of energy, bro. This is such an opportunity. I'm super excited to help.
Yeah, man.
All right, guys. Let's see here. It is about 12:02, so I think we can go ahead and get started. We've got a lot of folks who have already joined us here, and I'm sure we're going to have some more as the webinar or the masterclass here gets going. But like to thank you, Jason Delatte, for joining us on this masterclass. For anyone who does not know Jason, he is a top agent and he is a Tom Ferry coach. And he is out of Louisiana and is actively selling real estate and coaching and running a team and doing everything. And so he is this wonderful source of information. And he's here with us today to share basically some lead gen kind of topics and sources and really kind of everything that we know to kind of take our business to the next level. So with that, Jason, would you like to say anything kind of about yourself, a little bit about your background and where you sell out of? Because we want people to send referrals there.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like she said, my name is Jason Delatte. I have the privilege to have a real estate team, be a broker and coach some Tom Ferry elite clients out here in New Orleans, Louisiana. So I'm down here in the South. I know New Orleans is kind of known for maybe not some of the best things like Bourbon Street and all other things that kind of the debauchery that goes on, but we have a lot of phenomenal things as well that we have going on. It seems to be a place people like to visit, but not live as much. So the joke is people pass as they leave in Texas to go to Florida, they kind of pause and hang out in New Orleans, or when they leave Florida to go to Texas, they pause and hang out in New Orleans. But man, we love to have you guys here. So that's a little bit about me. Married for 17 years, 3 children, 21, 15, and 13. And I have a real estate team of 5 agents and an admin. So I kind of feel sometimes that we all saw The Wizard of Oz, that one point in the show, the movie, when Toto pulls back the curtain on the wizard and he's pulling the levers and pushing the button and making the smoke and the fire go. That's a lot of what I feel like from day to day. And so we're going to pull the curtain back today and expose the wizard behind the scenes. But I'm just super privileged and humbled to be a part of this mastermind. So thank you for having me.
Awesome. So let's start out by saying kind of how many different lead sources or kind of lead pillars do you recommend, Jason?
Well, that's pretty easy, right? So Tom says that at any point you should have 4 to 6 different lead sources, right? So I'm going to lean on the 4 to 6, and that's some of the basics. And I'm going to touch base with some of the top 3 today. But so of course, people don't want to hear it because it sounds so simple. But database is number 1, all right? A good geographic farm is an absolute must. You want to be the mayor of your town when it comes to real estate. Video, right? Social media, online presence, right? I see you everywhere is what you want to hear every time you run into somebody at Costco or Whole Foods. And then there's the traditional open houses, expired, for sale by owners. I mean, we can go on and on. But I'm going to share with you today kind of the top 3, of course, and we're going to paint with a broad brush. There's so deep we can go into each one of these actual lead gens, but we're going to kind of share the top 3. And if we have time, maybe kind of like some of these masterminds go, right? We'll throw in a bonus. We'll throw in a number 4 if we have a good audience participation.
I love it. Well, let's get started with our first one that we want to kind of dive into a little bit, which is going to be the database. So let's kind of just start with your database. What do you do to get leads and to stay in touch with your database for you and for your team?
Yeah, so every market has, right? I think everybody on this call can relate. Every market has this 1 or 2 agents that just seem to get every listing, right? Or they get they're selling everything in the neighborhood, right? And so how cool would it be if we had an opportunity to sit down with those heavy hitters and just basically ask them the question, like, how are you getting so much business, right? Well, the cool thing as a real estate coach is I have access to a lot of these heavy hitters, and they don't mind if I ask them, like, man, how are you doing this, right? What is the secret? What is the strategy, right? And so I'm going to share what I've learned with you guys. Right? And so earlier this year, we had the opportunity through a kind of other type of coaching masterminds to sit down with some of our coaching members who average a 10x industry average GCI year after year. We asked them a simple question: how are you generating the leads? How are you generating all the listings? How are you dominating this market, right? And this is what they told me, right? And I'm gonna do a little plug here, all for my coaching clients who are on this call, right? The only reason we know this is because they track their numbers, right? It's the only reason we have data is because we track the numbers, right? So the first lead source, as far as what we just talked about, is the database. It is by far the number one source for agents. Because think about it, right? So in that database, our whole goal is to yield a 10% return, right? So when I say that, that is completely different for each and every one of you, right? Would you agree? Every one of you has a certain and different amount of leads in your database. We're talking about sphere, circle of influence, referrals, agent referrals, other online leads that you're nurturing, right? The database is consistent of all of that, right? And so just to keep the numbers simple, let's just say you're a new agent, you have 200 people in your database, right? Well, 10% of that is 20 deals, right? And so if your average deal, keep the numbers simple, $5,000 a deal, right? That's $100,000 sitting in your database, right? And so the whole key to make that successful is to do a couple of things, right? You have to first build it. Right? So by building it, it's just kind of, hey, look, where do I store my personal and professional contacts, right? How do I have access to start organizing these people as a spinner of influence, past client, current client, referral? And so just really start to dig in. And I tell my agents, like, we need to start with your phone, right? I make everybody go through their contacts and go to the Z, scroll all the way to the bottom, and there's a number at the bottom, right? And some of these are pleasantly shocked. I've had some agents who are like, man, I have 4,000 people on my phone, all the way down to some people who have 200, right? And so those people at one point was important enough for you to stop what you were doing, put their name and their phone number in your phone, right? And so why wouldn't we not start with those people in mind? And then once you have that, once you build it, right, then you have to work it. And when I say work it, right, in order to generate that 10% from your database, right, whether that's 20 deals, 30 deals, 50 deals, right, we have to put some organization behind it. We have to put some automation behind it, right? And so that's where we're dealing with these people on an indirect and personal communication, which are bulk emails, bulk mailers. But then there needs to be that direct and personal communication, which needs to be the phone calls once a quarter, Facebook touches, videos, DMs, and things like that. So any questions so far? I don't want to kind of just keep going.
No,
I want to kind of interactive.
Let's take one step back. And I think one thing that a lot of agents even kind of struggle with, we talk to folks all the time, we're like, they're just like, well, we have everything in our phone, or we have everything in an Excel file, right? So is there a particular maybe CRM that you like to use, or a few that you think are really good to help with the automation piece of staying in touch with your database? Because it can be very overwhelming, right? Unless you have a system around it.
Absolutely, right? Tom says the best CRM in the planet is the one you're going to use, right? And so there's a lot of agents who have CRMs that are given to them with the brokerage. Depending on what brokerage, they're probably going to have a CRM. Now, might not be the bells and whistles and everything, but if it's a place to start, right? You have to have a starting point. And it's as simple as, like, one of the homeworks I give for my new agents is like, let's go through the phone and let's get 10 people a day in your database, right? So it does two things. Number one, it helps them organize the database, data entry, but also give them an opportunity to reach out to talk to people, right? It's like, hey, Alex, I know it's been a while, right? Forgive me for being, out of touch. And then you just touch base with those people, right? The Ford principle: family, occupation, recreation for you. How's the family? All right. Between COVID and everything we have going on in the world, It'd be foolish not to have something to talk about, right? And so that two things. Number one, it allows them to put that information in their CRM, right? Talk to Alex, moving to whatever, I don't know, little Sally lost her first tooth, whatever, right? Just make those notes, make it personable, right? Hey, look, I'm realizing, Alex, that I didn't have an email for you, right? Would you mind if I got a good working email from you? I like to kind of stay in touch with you from time to time and kind of let you know what's going on in the market, right? Birthdays, I don't have your birthday, right? So names, phone numbers, emails, birthday, things like that. And then that's stored. And then what you can do there is you can then tag that person, right? For the next 90 days. So now we're going to touch base again, right? Remember the four calls are every quarter, right? So I do 6. I do every 4 quarters. I do a birthday and I do a personal Christmas call, just checking in.
That's great. Now, what else do you do other than those phone calls? Are you staying in touch through email? Like, I believe you use our email newsletters, which is, we love staying in touch with our clients that way.
Yeah, absolutely. So the bulk emails or the monthly newsletter is a way that stays in front of your person or persons throughout the year, right? And so studies have been shown, right, whether that in order to generate that 10%, you have to be able to stay in front of these people 24, 30, 36, whatever you want to do, right? But I mean, if you have nothing and you did 6 phone calls, right, the 4 per quarter, and the 2 for the birthday and Christmas or whatever, and you added 12 emails, right? That's 18 touches right there.
Yeah.
So you go from they never hear from Jason to they've heard directly and indirectly from me 18 times a year.
Absolutely. Now, we always like to say too, like, let's meet people where they're at, right? Some people are phone people, some people are email people, some people are direct mail. Now, do you do any direct mail or do you recommend any direct mail to your database as well?
It all depends on where you are in the budget. I see too many agents who don't know their budget. So one of the first things we do as a coaching client is let's establish what your budget is, because you have 2 types of equity. You have check equity and sweat equity, right? And so you don't have the agent with a $500 budget to do postcards, do mailers, and do things like that. Right? When you get out and you become the mayor of the town, right? Think about the people who are running for Congress, running for office, right? They're out and about. They're knocking on doors. They're putting door hangers on your door. They're in social networking. They're at the different coffee shop. They're just out and about. And so you have to really choose which type of equity do you have in front. And so, I mean, it's all beneficial, but you have to look realistically, what can you sustain, right? I got some people, I'm not going to call nobody out, but this guy's been mailing 200 letters a month, I think for 5 years, right? And I think he's never got one back, right? And so it's like, combing through these different areas from time to time as a business owner should, and say, hey, where's my return on investment in these bulk mailers? Where's my return on investment in these postcards? And be combing through that every 90 days to kind of see where am I getting a return on investment. But for me, my number one is the bulk email, because it does just one thing and one thing only, right? Has anybody ever saw my email and be like, oh my God, I'm buying a house today. Where's Jason? No, but it's repetition recognition, right? And it's all about the branding and it's staying top of mind. I'll give you an example, right? So by far, who probably, and I apologize if you connected to this company in any way, but who makes the worst hamburger in the world? McDonald's, right? Can we all agree, right? Who sells the most hamburgers in the world? McDonald's. So how can a company who makes the worst hamburger in the world also sell the most hamburgers in the world, right? It's because they have a commercial every 16 seconds, right? And so that's people's top of mind, right? When we're late for soccer practice and the kids are all over the place, it's like, you know what? I'm going to stop at Mickey D's. It's quicker. It's their top of mind versus a Rally's or a Wendy's. So it's just the whole point of the bulk mailers, the whole point of staying in front of your database and organize this, touching them 18 to 36 times a year, strategically, intentionally and strategically, like you choose to, it's just to stay top of mind.
Yep, absolutely. Now, let's say folks, are looking to expand their business outside of their database, their sphere. One thing you mentioned was geographic farming. So can we start with just like, what in the world is geographic farming? Because a lot of folks don't really even know.
And it's such a broad topic. So what is geographic farming, right? So geographic farming is basically, first of all, I would suggest everybody wants to start off with a neighborhood that you've heard from different coaches, and not one's wrong or not, but you have to choose your strategy, right? So I would suggest my strategy is pick the area or location that you are in the most, right? If your kids go to a certain school and your wife works in this certain area, right? Why not be the local, hyper local agent, right? I see a lot of agents who want to go, well, I want to go geographic farm over here because the average home price is 2.2 million. I get that, right? That's the quickest way to give yourself a raise and to celebrate a house, right? But if you're not ever seen on that side of town, how are you going to become hyper local? So there's a couple of different things when it comes to the geographic farming, right? And first, I think the first and foremost thing is to know your why, right? Why is geographic farming most important to you? Why? What's motivating you to want to do better? What's driving you towards this, right? The why, you have to go back to the why, because there's going to be times that, I want you guys not to forget this. This is a farm, right? It takes watering, it takes planting, it takes nurturing, right? It's not look, you could plant a seed and get something tomorrow, but statistically, that's why it's called farming, right? So you have to know your why. Second thing is you have to set a goal, right? What's to come out of this? Be specific, be actionable, be intentional, right? And then from there, once you choose a farm, it's really getting a lot deeper into, again, do I have sweat equity or do I have check equity? So now that I have the farm, right, how am I going to reach this? There's no shortage of ideas. We just have to say, which one can I afford? Which one can I maintain? Guys, and I'm not talking 3 months. I want you to think about this year after year. What can I sustain? What can my budget maintain?
Absolutely, because a lot of times you need to take farming as a very long-term approach, right? We have a lot of folks who will start farming, but they don't see results for a year or two. And that's pretty normal, right, Jason?
Absolutely, right? So it is a long-term game, right? And so the way you choose a farm is a couple of different things. And you have to first have the mindset that, if I get something from this soon, great. But can I sustain this $200, $300, $400 per month budget for the next 2 years, right? That's the first thing you have to establish, right? Once you establish the budget, then it's time to see exactly a couple of things. What's the competition in the area, right? You don't want to be careful not to farm an area that is saturated by a dominant listing agent already, okay? And then once you pick that, right, you have to, number one thing in a geographic farm is the turnover, right? And that's where a lot of agents get stuck. They just want to go pick a farm because they love the location. They pick a farm because I'd like to live here one day. I love this farm because it's worth $3 million per. But if there's no turnover, it's not healthy, right? I'll give you an example, right? I'm going to raise my hand and call foul on myself. I chose an area to live in, right? And when I say these people come here to die, they come here to die. So it's a phenomenal place to live, but that is not my geographic farm, right? And so a healthy geographic farm is a rate of a turnover greater than 6%, right? And for those who are saying, how do I get to that point? What does 6% look like, right? You can calculate this yourself, right? So you simply divide the number of properties that sold in that area over the last 12 months, okay? And then you take that number and you divide that by the residents in that farm. All right. So I'll give you an example. I'm going to keep the numbers simple. If your farm contains 1,000 houses, right, and 100 homes sold that year, then that's a 10% turnover rate. Is what you want. It's above 6%. All right. So I'm going to repeat it for those who are writing down. To calculate this yourself, okay, you simply have to take you divide the number of properties sold over the last 12 months. And you divide that by the number of homes in that area. So the number I used, if it contains 1,000 homes in this geographic farm, we divide that by the 100, which is the house that's sold in that farm the last 12 months. It gives you a turnover rate of 10%, right? And so we wanted, a great farm is above 6. So 7, 8, 10 is perfect. 10 is great. The purpose of having that turnover rate is to ensure that enough properties are selling to warrant the investing of your time, the investing of your energy, the investing of your resources, right? So don't start farming an area where the turnover rate is low. It's just, I don't want to say you're wasting your money, but it's not the best utilization of your time, energy, and effort.
Absolutely. And if you're in an area lives in, where they're building new construction or building communities, maybe kind of the time to jump in and establish that farm before anybody else does is maybe kind of like year 2 or year 3. What do you think about that, Jason?
Well, I think you need to get out there and meet the people day one, right? And then continue to build that. Because I mean, people statistically they're going to work with the first person they meet, right? Unless it's just a horrible meeting, right? It's just a horrible first impression. That's just the way we buy from, right? Because there's a lot of people, and I know there's many of agents on this call who went to listing appointments and went to buyers consultations, and they're like, hey, look, I've already met with Timothy. We're going to go with her because we met her first, and I just there was just something, so just understand that. So yes, it might be a longer 2 or 3 year down the road because it's new construction, but man, just get out and meet people, right? I tell my agents, never chase money, chase relationships.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, when people think
sorry, real quick, we have a question from Tiffany and Jason. She asked, when you're calculating that, are you talking about the population in an area or listed versus sold in an area?
I think you're talking about the number of houses in
I'm
a
talking
neighborhood.
about houses. Yeah, there's really no way to figure out the population of people. So if I said people, I meant homes, 1,000 homes, not 35,000 people. So it's the amount of homes in that farm divided by the number of homes sold.
Yeah. So you should be able to kind of go into your MLS, search up specific neighborhood, find out, maybe find out how many there are, and then do that same search for the number of solds for that particular time frame, that particular year. And it may take a little planning.
Every MLS is different, so I'm not even going to go down that rabbit hole of how to show you on mine. But hopefully you have a good broker or a team leader, somebody in the office, or even a vetted agent who can show you, how to find those statistics. But I mean, it is all in the hot sheets on the MLS. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So now you had said something really interesting to us the other day, Jason, where a lot of people think that geographic farming is like sending postcards and calling it a day, right? You had said, you really need to, like you mentioned earlier, like be actively farming this, right? So it's also phone calls or maybe like slide broadcasts or, emails, whatever you can get your hands on to get involved with that farm, right?
Yeah, like again, there's nothing new under the sun. It all depends on your budget, right? But there have companies out there like Mojo, RedX, Vulcan 7, Land Boys that you can do specific geographic farming, right? And so it's kind of like geographic farming. I guess it's door knocking in 2022, right? And so yes, I can go out and door knock 50 houses, or I can pick up a dialer, put a headset on, and call 100 homes, 100 call attempts in 1 hour. Yeah. So what I typically like to do is not only just for this geographic farm, but I tell my agents, hey, look, every Monday, open up your MLS, see the just listed, see the just sold, right? Look at the price points and see if it's an area that you would like to, to take market, right? And then from there, you can put that address, 123 Banana Street, just sold for whatever, right? You can then put that address in your geographic farm, whatever platform you're using, right? Whether it's a RedX, Vulcan 7, Mojo, Land Boys, you can get the nearest up to 250 door information. And from there, you can be the real estate expert, and just letting those people. It's another way of geographic farming, not owning a farm, but just going around the just listed, just sold, letting them know, hey, look, this one just came up. And statistically, once one house pops up, 2 or 3 more in the area come up, or the script as far as, hey, this property just sold, and unfortunately they had multiple offers and only one person can buy the house, which means you have 4 other families who are kind of frustrated that they missed out. So my job is to reach out and see if there's any other person in the area who even thought about it, right? And also, wouldn't you love the opportunity to choose your neighbor?
Absolutely. And I love what you kind of keep going back to is kind of like there's no excuses here, right? Like you can't use budget as an excuse. You can't use like, I don't have, the funds to be able to do some of the things that other folks are recommending. Like you said, it's sweat equity. And so there's a lot of different ways that you can do it. And you can, as you kind of increase your budget, you can also kind of compound on that by adding in different ways of communication. So I think that's awesome. There's just no excuses. And I love that, because a lot of times we can kind of get in our own way with things like that.
Yeah,
So.
absolutely. So if you just have sweat equity, you have no budget or very low budget, right? You can contact for sale by owners. You can get on Zillow, Make Me Move. You can get on Realtor.com. I mean, you can engage in the community on Facebook, on Nextdoor, on LinkedIn. I mean, these people have neighborhood groups, some of them, right? You can get active in local organizations, homeowners associations, PTA meetings. I mean, there really is no really excuse. You can sponsor a 5K at the park, or a little concert that's coming to the summertime. So there's a lot of different ways that you can identify yourself as the hyper local person if you don't have $500 a month to spend on a farm.
So let's kind of take all this information and pivot a little bit into talking about video, which scares the Jesus out of most agents out there, and everybody really, right? How do you even start with video? Like, tell me, like, if I haven't done a video yet about real estate, where do I even start?
The topic of video, right? So, I mean, think about it. We are living in a video first, I mean, I don't know what you want to call it, an era, century, right? That's just where we live. They said the time was so in front of this. I think it was a summit in 2018, and he said, I don't know what exactly he said by the year. He said, but by a certain year, video is going to be king, right? People they're not even going to read as much. So now we have Audible books, so we don't have to read anymore. So we can get it audible, we can get it visual, right? But yet there's so many agents who are still afraid to step in front of the camera, right? And for those who have adopted video and are building rapport with their audience, they're naturally starting to attract new business, right? I don't know how many times I can tell you, when I get on the coaching calls with my clients week after week, it's like, hey, so-and-so saw this video and I got a direct message about putting their house for sale, or they saw my video and they're asking questions about this new construction. And it's like, we don't need, right? We don't need to, if I'm a musician or I'm a great football player, I don't need to send in my video to any, back in the day, you had to send your video to the radio show and ask them to play it. Now you can just put it on a video, and then you're just instantly famous, right? So for those who aren't using video, you're falling, I'm gonna be honest with you, you're falling further and further behind. And so the easiest way, the number one way, right? You're a real estate agent, right? Which means you should be, an expert in your craft. So the video option number one, right, is simply do an educational video, right? You wouldn't be in business if you didn't believe in your ability to answer someone's real estate question or help guide them to some type of success when buying or selling the home, right? So let's cut out the middleman, start answering those questions proactively on video. And so one of my agents, she just did a, oh God, bring it back. What was her topic? In my opinion, every Monday it's in my opinion. And then she goes off on the market or how this should be or how that should be, in my opinion. Because the cool thing about real estate, the cool thing about social media is people don't follow you to get the news. All right. So that's what you think people are following you for. You're wrong. They're following you because they want to get the news in your perspective. They like the way you interpret what the world is saying. They like your point of view. That's why they're engaged in your platform. And so go and educate these people, right? I tell people all the time, and Tom said it, so I'm going to say it, right? Rip off and duplicate, right? If there's somebody on social media that you just love their content, you love their style, but they live in Maine, right? And you live in Arizona, you're not connected to the same people, right? Your people aren't following you in Maine, aren't following you in Arizona, right? So, chew the meat. I say chew the meat, spit out the bone, right? Take the topic, make it your own, and just put it on video.
Now, once you do these videos, right? Like, are you saying, let me do a cell phone video, let me do a Zoom record myself? Can it just be as simple as like me taking my cell phone and doing a video? Like, do I have to get it edited? Does it have to be like super professional? Because I'm kind of a perfectionist, right? So how do we get over that? And like, what is it okay just to do a cell phone video?
Yeah, it is. It's a little red button. All you have to do is press it. It's just my motto this year. I took it from Tom. He's been saying it for years. Done is better than perfect, right? People don't follow you again to watch the news. Fox 8's for that. CNN's for that, right? That's all performed. It's an intentional. It's scripted. It's ready to go. People like reality, true reality. They want to just kind of hear and see. They want the raw, right? If you don't believe me, go look at Gary Vaynerchuk. Right? Go look at these people who are just picking up their cell phones. Nowadays, there's so many stabilizers and things in these new phones, right? There might be a couple of apps you can get to really, kind of fine tune the camera if you really want a better quality of a camera. But right now, a cell phone and $109 gimbal, right, is all you need. It's really that simple. But I would start off with educational videos would be the first place to start.
Okay. And then like after that, like I see a lot of times folks, posting, like just taking a video and like really kind of, we can post it anywhere. You can post it on social, anywhere on social, post it on YouTube. Do you send emails out to your database? I mean, there's a lot of different ways you can use video, right? Absolutely.
Right. And so when it comes to video, like I'll just give you an example. I'm not sure if she's on here or not, but she done a listing video, of a property. And she was like, well, I posted it here and I posted it here. And I was like, well, did you post it to your database? And she's like, no, they already bought houses from me. I'm like, yeah, but you don't know who they might know who needs to buy this house. And she's like, that's a no brainer. I'm like, this is an opportunity to get this video in front of another 1,400 people who might not follow you on social. Right. And so you can really get deep into if I'm going to put it on TikTok, it's got to be a little bit different than Instagram. And if it's going to be a little different from LinkedIn, I mean, you can really get into the nuts and bolts of that. But again, done is better than perfect. Just start somewhere, right? And just get over the fact that, one eye is lazier than the other and one ear is not exactly straight. Like find your best side, whatever you have to do, right? But I'm going to tell you right now, if you don't jump on this, right, you're going to get further and further behind.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, tell me like a little bit about, you're a coach. Everything that you said here is like, there's just so much information. So tell me just a little bit about coaching. Like, what does coaching do? How can coaching kind of like help me, better business, and just like a little bit about what you can expect when you have a coach. What does that look like?
Oh man, I guess it all depends on who you ask, right? There's a couple of people on here who I try to be really consistent because look, success is not easy, but it should be simple. And when I say simple as, right, if you look at Tony Robbins, I'm just gonna throw names out, right? Look at Tony Robbins. He wears the same clovered hat and a black t-shirt, right? Dave Ramsey wears the same jacket with a baby blue shirt underneath, right? Tom wears the same glasses, little hair, does this all the time as he's talking. Like, it's simple, it's consistent, it's the same all the time. And so that's what coaching is. Sometimes it's the mundane. It's like, oh my God, he's gonna want to know how many phone calls I made. He's going to know how many appointments I set, but like, look, I've never gotten to a closing table, right, without a contract. I've never got a contract without an appointment. I've never got an appointment without a phone call. I never got a phone call without getting on the phone, right? So if anybody on this video can teach me a better way to get to a closing table without talking to anyone, I would sign up for that class. And so coaching is, I'll tell you what coaching is not. Coaching is not, I'm going to tell you everything to do and you're going to be successful. Right? That's what coaching is not. I think for whatever reason, right, that is the best misconception with coaching. But it doesn't matter what sport you play, right? Or I don't care if you're a swimmer, if you watch swimming, right? If you're watching basketball right now, right? The New Orleans Pelicans just beat the Phoenix Suns. We're tied 1-1, right? Football, golf, right? The coach never enters the play, right? The coach, matter of fact, the coach will get penalized if they get on the court. They'll get penalized if they step on the baseball diamond, right? So the coach is always on the side, right? That's what coaching is about. It's about meeting with you consistently, right? What have you worked on since last time we talked, right? Have we moved the needle forward or have you not? How many people are you getting in front of? What do those conversations look like? How many listing appointments are we doing? It's the consistency, because the number one reason, whether you want to say it or not, people get into coaching is accountability, right? But That's also the number one reason people want to quit. Oh, you're going to check my homework. You're going to check if I actually did what we talked about last time. Yeah, that's the accountability, right? But it doesn't matter what you do, right? Think about the professional singers, athletes. When you get to the point where you're like, hey, I'm ready to go to the next level, you get a coach.
Yeah.
Right. Mariah Carey, Celine Dion, these people don't sing like that without a vocal coach. They just don't. Michael Phelps doesn't swim like that without a coach. And whoever that is for you in your world.
Right. No, absolutely. And sometimes you just need a little different perspective too, right? So there's just, not always kind of one way to skin a cat. There's a lot of different ways that you can be successful in real estate. And you don't have to maybe be that outgoing people person. There's different tactics that you can use, and a coach can kind of help you explore that. Like, what is your personality type, and what are you going to do for lead generation, right? Because even the things that we talked about today, database, geofarm, video, there's a way for every different personality type to really embrace these and to do it in their own way.
Absolutely. It boils down to, Tom said that all the time. Are you interested or are you committed, right? Or Tony Robbins says, should do's versus must do's, right? So we all have these things that I should get more sleep. I should go to the gym more. I should be nicer and spend more time with my kids. But then there's a level of, I must do this, right? I must pay my car note. I must pay my mortgage, right? I must show up in court if I got a ticket, whatever, right? So you have to take those should do's and implement them into the must do's, right? And so that's where a coach comes in, right? So I can simply say, Davin, Tracy, Shara, like, what are your must do's? What are the things that you cannot go without doing? And we're going to take those and we're going to develop a business plan around that.
Right. I love that. Now, let's kind of open it up to anyone who is participating in this masterclass. Does anybody have any questions for Jason? Does anybody have anything they want to dig deeper on any of these topics, whether it be database, video, geofarm, anything that we can kind of help you with? Nothing on here. Okay. Well, then let's see here. Jason, if you have like one other kind of like, if there's anything you want to end on, or let's see here. We do have a question. Like, what are your approaches for daily lead gen? Like some daily tasks that they can do with their sphere to proactively lead generate their database, just on a daily.
I tell people every day, you have to treat your business like you work for somebody else, right? You have to, right? If you work for Costco, they would tell you a time you had to show up. They would tell you a time you had to take a break. They would tell you a time you had to eat lunch, and they would tell you a time we had to leave, right? But far too many real estate agents, they get into this business and it's like, well, I'm going to come in around 10:30. I'm going to take a lunch, and I'm going to get back around 3, go to the gym at 4 before it gets crowded. And the next thing, you haven't done anything, right? So my first question to you is, what does your day look like? Right? I'm talking like, let's specify the perfect real estate day, right? I get up at 6. Tom is real big on meds, right? Meditation, prayer, exercise, diet. So what are you doing in the morning? Are you spending time being grateful? Are you spending time in prayer? Are you spending time doing yoga? Are you exercising? Are you putting yourself first, right? Then you roll into the office, and then from 8 to 8:30, right? I'm going to check the emails. Real estate agents love to check the email. They think everything else is on fire. Everything is on fire at this level, right? Check a couple of emails, answer what you have. And then from 9 to 11, right? Just get on the phone, right? You should have a database that if you put that information in the right way and you tag your people accordingly, right? And you hit task to follow up, or if it's online leads, Zillow or anything like that, you should have that. So when you open up your task for the day, it should tell you who to call. It should tell you who to touch base with, right? And so
Absolutely.
if, let's just say Q1 is everybody gets a phone call of a past client, right? So if you have 100 people, you divide that per quarter, per week, per day, you might be 20 people a day you have to get in touch with. So I would just say, what does your day look like? And then you have to prioritize it around, I call it wealth creation, right? Some people call it cold calling, some people call it lead gen. All right, call it something that makes you want to do it. Right? No one wants to do anything cold other than eat ice cream, right? But I want to create wealth, right? So that's what I call wealth creation from 9 to 11. Or 10 to 11, or 11 to 1:30, whatever fits your day, right? But that's the time that no one gets. That's the time you're working for your family, right? The biggest thing I see with, I'm not gonna say all my agents, but the biggest thing I see with a lot of agents is they let current business trump new business. They're like, oh my God, I got 4 deals pending. I got 4 home inspections. I mean, I'm just busy, coach. I ain't got time. And then 1 day goes without lead gen, 2 days goes without lead gen, 3 days go without lead gen. And the problem with that is every day you don't show up in your business, it takes you an average of 3 days to build that momentum up. Right. So if you take Monday and Tuesday off because you got all these stuff going on and blah, 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 blah. Right. So 2 times 3 is 6. So it's going to take you a full week to get back to that momentum where you feel like, okay, I'm doing something, I'm productive, right? Because if not, we ride. I mean, look, come on, let's be honest, guys. We've all rode the roller coaster, right? It's because you spent too much time on current business and you didn't emphasize always looking for new business. It's called filling the pipeline. And so when we coach, one of the things we work on, hey, let's look at your pipeline. Who's ready, willing, and able in the next 90 days to buy or sell? Let's go through this pipeline. How often are you touching these people? When are you touching them? What method are you touching them? Then we go through their active, pending, and closed, and we just go through.
A lot of times with folks just, I think the hesitancy in getting on the phone, I know even myself personally, it's like, I don't know what to say, right? I don't want to call and ask for business. So one thing that we do on our team is we have quarterly events. And so we always have a good reason to kind of pick up the phone and talk to our clients. We always kind of come from contribution and just say, hey, we've got, this, outdoor movie in the park night coming up in June. Yep. Love to see you, and having a conversation like that. So I think, having and utilizing client events is a great way to be able to make those calls. And it's just a really warm, nice touch too.
I think it boils down to you have to teach people how to treat you. Mm-hmm. Right. I mean, so it's a simple line like this, hey, Davin, this is at the closing table, right? Hey, Davin, I really appreciate the opportunity to help you guys, buy your first house. I enjoy the experience. And so as we transit after today, right, I'm going to transition from your real estate agent to your real estate consultant, right? So what that means is I'm going to consult with you every 90 days to check on the house, to check on, maybe you might need something, maybe you need a vendor, maybe you want to put in a pool or put in some landscaping. I don't want you on Google. I am now your resource to consult with for the lifetime of this house. So I'm going to check on you every 90 days if that's okay with you. So they're anticipating the call. So it's not like, oh, Davin's calling. What does he want? I already bought a house. You teach people how to treat you, right? And so there's methods to that. One of the things I do in the summertime, in the second, my Q2, is reaching out to my clients, hey, just touching base, right? What do you guys plan on doing this summer? You taking a family trip, right? What's the family? What's going on? Recreation, right? Forward principle. And I'm always saying, hey, is there anything you guys got planned to do for the house this summer? I know when we bought it, we had that mauve bathtub. And you guys are going to replace that this summer because I have resources, for that. So just always, again, coming from contribution, or I'm asking them, hey, since last time we spoke, did you guys do any upgrades to the house? Yeah, we put in a shower glass. Man, who'd you use? Because I'm always looking for strategic partners. And so, man, if you like Tom's Glass, I'd love the opportunity to reach out to them, because I might need a glass company. So they're giving you something, you're giving them something. You're right. It's not that, hey, Michelle, who do you know that needs to buy, sell, or invest in real estate? I mean, who wants to talk to that guy?
Yep, absolutely. Now, one last thing, we've got one last question here that we can, quickly address is that people want to know, what else you talked about on video?
All right, so news. I'll tell you what's going to be the future. Right now, it's 30-second, 60-second reels, and a lot of it is just content. I want to be the knowledge broker, right? And a lot of my videos are leaned or geared toward sellers. So I might be something, talking about, when we get your house under contract, how soon do you want to put it on the market, right? Realistically, we can get that on the market in the next 24 hours. But I spend, 10 to 14 days making sure that you're just educating people on the sale process. Or if you're a buyer's agent, hey, in the state of Louisiana, we have something called property disclosures, and you educate them on what a property disclosure. Think about the thing that you deal with day to day to day, that just because you know it doesn't mean nobody else knows it, right? So that's kind of where a lot of it is, because they want to look at you as a knowledge broker, right? And so that I'm not sure if everybody has broker tours around where they live, broker tours in Louisiana. It's just when a house comes on the market, all the brokers and agents get to go in it first before it hits the market. So go in there and shoot video, make reels, right? Local restaurants. I did a video the other day. A good friend of mine just opened up a restaurant. They had deep fried Oreo beignets, right? So I did a little video on the Oreo beignet and how, I mean, it's just so good. It's 10 out of 10. Luca Eats, it's 1214 Cone Street. Like, just be that person in the community.
I love that. And we too at Blink Marketing. So with all of our social media content, we also have once a week, we do a Tip Tuesday. So we have like a whole video script too for folks. So if you're kind of, stressed and you don't know what to say, we kind of break it down and give you a video script so that at least you can kind of commit to, and you have content for at least one video a week that a lot of times we see folks implementing. And again, you make it your own, right? So the idea is there, the talking points are there, the information's there, and you just kind of put your own twist on it, just so, because people want to know you, right? They love the authenticity. So that's really what folks want to see, with mistakes and all.
To answer Michelle's question, where else can I get ideas from video, right? It's an old concept, not many people heard about it, right? But it's called Google, right? You can type in what's the top question in 2022 concerning real estate, and guess what? There's going to have at least 5 questions people are Googling, wanting to know information about it. Make a video about it.
Yeah.
Hey guys, I was on Google today and this question popped up, blah 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 blah. So evidently, we're going to make a quick video on, do you have to disclose if someone was murdered in your house?
Yeah. Awesome.
You can't get around it.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Well, thank you, Jason. We want to just be respectful of everybody's time here, yours included. We are so grateful that you kind of came on. I kind of took a million notes as you were going through. So we're going to have this video. It's recorded. It's going to be available on our website and on social media. So if you guys, like me, were kind of going through and you're like, that is an awesome amount of information, you can always go back, check the replay. And we really, like I said, we really appreciate you being here with us today, Jason.
No, I love it. I mean, it's just, and the good thing about me being a coach and being in production is I'm in this thing with you guys, right? So when I'm talking about lead gen and calling everybody per quarter, right, and doing the geographic farming, I'm literally, I can show you my schedule right now. Like, so here's my time Ferry flip clock. I don't know if you can see it on my Zoom, right? I turn this thing over and I go to work for an hour. When this thing empties out, right? Or I set an appointment, I don't move from my computer. So if there's anything that you guys want, I leverage a lot of my business to Blink Marketing. It is a one-stop shop for me, from pop buys to mail buys to social media to graphics to my monthly newsletter to, the scripts. Like you said, they actually have scripts done. The scripts are for you, like it's teleprompted. It's just, it's what I like about it is it's created for agents by agents. It's not just a marketing company somewhere in the hills that just want to try to capture the real estate market. Like, you guys are agents. You know exactly what we need and what we lack and where our mindset gets what I don't have it. So I'm just going to just not do it. So I really appreciate the partnership that we have. And so thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you. All right, everybody. Well, again, thank you so much for tuning in. Jason, thank you. And we look forward to answering any questions. If you guys have any questions about Blink Marketing, feel free to check us out, blinkmarketingagency.com. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
Have a phenomenal week.
Bye, Jason. Talk to you soon.